Have you ever wondered about the history of Coca-Cola? You may know it as one of the most iconic American brands, but what is the real story behind its creation? In this video, we will explore the fascinating and disturbing truth about the history of Coca-Cola. Did you know that Coca-Cola was originally created as a treatment for addiction, depression, anxiety, and headaches? And that it contained cocaine as one of its key ingredients? We will uncover the secrets behind Coca-Cola's early success, its founder's battle with addiction, and how it transformed into the billion-dollar company that it is today. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride through the dark history of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, which has come to be widely recognized as a symbol of America, is credited with being created by Dr. John Pemberton, a renowned physician in the 1800s. John grew up in Rome after being born in Knoxville, Georgia in 1831. At the age of 19, he obtained his license to practice Thomsonian medicine, which at the time was not well respected because it relied on botany and herbalism to rid the body of harmful toxins. But John's love for the profession inspired him to start a company that specialized in materia medica substances for making medical treatments. John was successful in his field, but his life took an unexpected turn when he was enlisted in the army during the Civil War and was given a life-threatening drug after being hit by enemy fire. Amazingly, he made it through the ordeal and used the lessons learned to create the $74 billion Coca-Cola brand. After following a traditional career path, John graduated from pharmacy school a few years later. He was forced to give up his white lab coat and switch to a first lieutenant when the Civil War started. He was struck by a saber during a battle and appeared to be about to pass away, but miraculously survived after being given morphine to relieve the pain. After the war, John relocated his family to Atlanta and rose to the position of senior member in a pharmaceutical company, earning himself the title of the most well-known doctor in the area. Despite his success, John battled a morphine addiction, so he started looking for a solution. He discovered a beverage called Vin Mariana that contained red wine and coca leaves and was said to have medicinal qualities. John was motivated to develop his own version by this in order to kick his addiction. He combined coca leaves, red wine, and cola nuts to produce Pemberton's French wine coca. Coca leaves were valued for the stimulating qualities as well as their capacity to lessen pain, fatigue, hunger, and thirst. Each leaf contained 0.35% cocaine, but it was widely available in the US. It was proposed as a potential remedy for opium and morphine addiction by some physicians and pharmacists. Cola nuts also helped with digestion and had a lot of caffeine in them. John thought his French wine coca would treat a wide range of ailments such as addictions, depression, anxiety, and headaches. He established a distribution network to sell his treatment in order to aid other war veterans. In his laboratory, he produced the syrup and distributed it to collaborators and subcontractors for marketing purposes. Many people used the cure, and it was an instant success, but the demand wasn't enough to keep the business afloat on its own. John had to adapt his new business due to a challenge, which is how Coca-Cola was born. Atlanta had just declared its intention to outlaw alcohol when Pemberton's French wine coca first hit the shelves. After taking out the wine, John quickly came up with a new formula because he was afraid the new law would make his treatment ineffective. Because he discovered that cola nuts made the beverage too bitter, he substituted artificial caffeine, additional sugar, citric acid, vanilla, lemon oil, orange nutmeg, and coriander extracts from the cola nuts. He renamed the beverage Coca-Cola on the advice of his bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, changing the spelling to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Even though the first year's sales were only $50 and the cost of the supplies were $70, Frank remained optimistic and persuaded John to advertise the cure using banners, streetcar placards, and store awnings. As a result of this successful strategy, Coca-Cola gained popularity in Atlanta. John and Frank gave an example of the value of tenacity in overcoming obstacles and succeeding. John's health deteriorated despite Coca's success. Colas, despite the company's soaring sales. He eventually passed away from stomach cancer after selling company stock to provide for his family. Despite this setback, he kept some of the shares for his son, who went on to battle addiction. Frank decided to take it upon himself to find an investor who would continue John's dream of making Coca-Cola a national beverage out of concern for the company's future. He eventually came across Asa Candler, a successful businessman who was initially dubious about the company's prospects, but Frank persuaded him of its worth, and Candler purchased the rights to Coca-Cola brand and recipe. The use of coupons was later added, and he expanded sales to more retailers, which was a groundbreaking marketing move. John's bold plans for Coca-Cola helped to instill confidence in both his staff and the person who would later work to build the company. Sadly, John never got to see his entire vision come true. Asa lost his battle with morphine addiction and passed away without any money 2 years after he took over management of the business. Asa took charge and established the Coca-Cola Company after Charles's addiction became more severe. He increased sales of Coca-Cola to every state in the US, followed by Canada, but he was unable to spur interest in Europe. Any beverage other than beer, wine, or water was considered unsuitable for children in Germany, and buying a subpar American beverage was considered insulting to France. When presented with a proposal, Asa was also unwise. Asa was given a suggestion by two attorneys, Joseph Whitehead and Benjamin Thomas, that they had just come up with. Coca-Cola is already popular as a drink served at fountains, but what if it was packaged? They suggested. The suggestion of bottling surprised Asa. What even does that look like? He questioned. Customers could take the bottles home with them, they said. Asa regarded it as a ridiculous notion. He was adamant that fountain drinks were Coca-Cola's hope for the future. He had no interest in the pricey operation of bottling, with nothing to lose, because if they succeeded, they would sell more syrup, and if they failed, he wouldn't lose a penny. He allowed Joseph and Benjamin to bottle as much Coca-Cola as they wanted for just $1. One of the first U.S. franchises was created by Joseph and Benjamin working together to secure funding and start a Coca-Cola bottling plant. To Asa's surprise, bottled beverages gained popularity very quickly. Due to its success, Coca-Cola was imitated by other businesses, which led it to develop a distinctive contour bottle to set itself apart from competitors. The brand's success was ultimately fueled by its iconic packaging, which saw bottled sales overtake those soda fountains. The contour bottle, which has come to be associated with Coca-Cola, was inspired by Joseph and Benjamin's initially ridiculous idea. After the contour bottle was developed, Asa resigned from the business to run for mayor of Atlanta, leaving his children in charge of running the company. 3 years later, the family made the biggest financial transaction in the history of the American South when it sold Coca-Cola to a group of investors for a whopping $25 million. One of the investors in the deal was a banker by the name of Ernest Woodruff, who helped Coca-Cola become a publicly traded company and optimized its production process to ensure consistent quality. He persuaded his son Robert to succeed him as company president not long after he retired. Robert was a marketing guru who had previously worked his way up from a truck salesman to a general manager. Under his direction, the business got rid of the trace amount of cocaine in the formula and unveiled fresh goods like 6-bottle packs, metal-top open coolers, and automatic fountain dispensers. Additionally, the business accomplished Asa's unfinished task of generating Coca-Cola demand in Europe. The business advertised, distributed, and sold Coca-Cola as an energizing import throughout Europe. Some bottles had a green color and a gold foil seal, resembling champagne magnums. Additionally, the brand developed relationships with a variety of historic and festive occasions. For instance, the business gave the American Olympic team 40,000 bottles of Coca-Cola during the 1928 Olympic Games in Amsterdam. Additionally, the company pledged to make sure that every American soldier could enjoy a Coca-Cola whenever they were stationed during World War II. Coca-Cola also changed the way people think of Santa Claus in the modern era, from a stern figure in a red, green, or brown outfit to a jovial man in a red suit. Today, Coca-Cola is regarded as a national symbol and a quintessential representation of American culture. It comes in second place behind Nike in terms of global recognition. In more than 200 nations around the world, nearly 2 billion servings of Coca-Cola beverages are consumed every day. As we wrap up this eye-opening journey into the history of Coca-Cola, it's clear that this iconic beverage has come a long way from its humble beginnings as a medicinal cure for morphine addiction. Despite facing numerous obstacles, including war, prohibition, and addiction, the tenacious spirit of its creators and successors has enabled Coca-Cola to become a global brand that's recognized by almost everyone today. But it's important to remember that the origins of Coca-Cola are rooted in a history that's not entirely rosy. From the inclusion of coca leaves, which contain cocaine, to the exploitation of labor in the sugar industry, there are darker aspects to the story of this beloved beverage that we cannot ignore. So, while we continue to enjoy our Coca-Cola, let's also reflect on the disturbing truths behind its history and use this knowledge to make more informed choices about the products we consume. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.